Hello folks, welcome to OTD, also known as On the Deck, where you can get all the sports you need in 10 minutes. My name is Adam Orduna, this is my mom Gina.
He is a journalist.
She's the enthusiast.
I am enthusiastic because it is so nice outside.
It is very nice outside today. Yes, we are in springtime and the sun is out. It's in the mid 60s and 70s most of the time now. We do have the rain, but that's to be expected because it's April.
It's April what? What day is it in
Today is April 20th. Happy 420. For those of you who don't know, it's the National Smokers Holiday. We're not talking about cigarettes or cigars. We're talking about smoking that green, that ganji, that marijuana that a lot of people do take part in. And that's not just within teenagers. That's in adults. 54% of marijuana users are adults. And parents. So that's just the statistic that most people don't really know.
Well, and I'm not saying we are partaking, but it just kind of makes me happy to know that all over Colorado, California, and Oregon today, there are people doing
Washington, D.C., up in the northeast corner of the United States, up there in Washington State.
There's a whole bunch of happy, sleepy, hungry people today.
You know, and we've been advocates of it to be legal and all phases. And so, yeah, so we're going to help kind of pump it up a little bit.
Absolutely.
It is Thursday. It's my favorite day of the week, and it is Happy Throwback Thursday.
It is Happy Throwback Thursday.
I also want to give a shout out to K-State for their spring game coming up. No, it's coming up this Saturday, and so it's going to be a great game for everyone.
You know what it was? It was a really great interview with Coach Snyder on the TV yesterday, which if you can get Coach Bill to talk to, you've done something.
Yeah, exactly. So it should be a good turnout for those people out there this weekend. So we're really excited for that. We've got this week in sports news update that we want to talk to you guys about. We've got a couple big events that have taken place with a couple of athletes that we definitely want to highlight, and then the sports team. We've got the Patriots going to the White House. That's been a huge headline
for a while.
We've got Serena Williams, who has now fully come out saying that she's pregnant. 20 weeks in, by the way. And then we have the Hernadez story with him allegedly committing suicide in his jail cell up there in Boston. And so those are some big topics right now that we want to definitely bring up, because these are a couple of them are situations that are controversial, and Serena's not so much, but it is a thing that could maybe deter her from her greatness a little bit on the tennis court. So those are our three topics today. We're going to try to get these all in right now, but what are your initial thoughts really with the whole Patriots situation going to the White House with Donald Trump in this climate that we're kind of still in, as people are not huge fans of him and how he's running things?
Well, honestly, Angel, I am torn, because there's a part of me that feels like even after Donald Trump won, I did not vote for him. That was not my thing, and I was as disappointed and heartbroken. But I had to say immediately, democracy still won, because I believe in our country and our democratic system. And even though my candidate didn't win, it was a free and unfettered election where people weren't being threatened. We didn't have to have a war. We just changed power freely by voting. And so I still think that's a win for democracy. So that being said, whoever sits in the office of president, you can elevate the office above the person.
Right.
You know, and I guess I was going to say above the man, because we still haven't had a woman. So it's the office above the man. And I do understand people saying, I'm going to go to the White House where John Adams lived, where Lincoln lived, where every president until now basically has lived, and have the respect and honor of shaking the president's hand and that sort of thing. So I get that. So for me, it's like if those players decide to go, that was great. I am not going to lie. It gives me a great pleasure to know how low the numbers were, and that there were people who didn't go and spoke out and said why. Because the other part of being in a free democracy is the right to say, I'm not going.
Right.
Even if the president asks me to come, I don't have to go. We're not in a dictatorship, you know, where Saddam Hussein, before he was killed, would, you know, he just said your name. You had to be there.
Right.
You don't have to go. So my thought on it is, I'm glad that there were people who stood up for their right to say, you don't represent my values, and I won't be sitting there in a picture doing that with you. That's not happening.
Or not smiling at all, just sitting there taking the picture. Now, I guess I want to bring up the numbers from a couple of years ago. It was significant. There was a huge difference in the numbers of people that ended up going when President Obama was president versus just what happened yesterday with President Trump being in the White House. The numbers it's pretty staggering. They have, I think it's 68 people, or that's really
Players,
about the
yeah,
68
on the
players
roster.
that. Well, it's 72, but you know, some of those are extra guys,
Yeah,
basically.
yeah.
But yeah, 68. There were 34 people that showed up yesterday.
That's sad.
And there were 50 that showed up for President Obama. Now, there was one glaring person that wasn't there for both occasions, and that was Tom Brady. We have our own thoughts on that.
We do. That's a whole
really
separate
probably don't
show.
need to get into that,
Nope.
but he was not there. He was not president for the president. He said he had a family issue come up, which, again, we have our own thoughts on that. But what does that say about kind of what the whole standard is for how this is going to take place? Do you think this is going to continue on where the president's going to continue to invite people to the White House with such low numbers? It doesn't really, you know, showcase the numbers being that people want to go. Is this going to continue to happen?
Well, it's like if you throw a party and, you know, less than half the people you invite show up, you're going to kind of feel shaded like that.
Right.
Donald Trump does not like to feel shaded or embarrassed. So I think if he looks out and says the NBA championship team might be pretty much all black people, and it's a good chance it could either be the Cavs or the Warriors, neither of those teams are about to come.
Right.
So I think he's just going to quit inviting people. I think
Right.
what's going to happen is just like with the White House Correspondents' Dinner, he's just going to say, look, we're just not going to do that anymore. And I think the next president that comes in will reinstate our values and our traditions, and then it'll be a special thing again.
Yeah.
And I do think it's sad for the teams that win championships right now that this is a tradition that's going to go away.
Yeah.
But I also think it's sad for them to have to choose between going to the White House to celebrate and standing next to someone who really doesn't represent your values.
Right.
This should all be a celebration.
I agree, yeah.
And it's sad that we have someone in the White House that is that polarizing that people don't want to be pictured with him.
Yeah, and I think you said it just right. I think the professional teams and even college teams, they're going to feel jaded, or they're losing out in a way that they probably never have been before. Unfortunately, a lot of these pro teams or college teams have a lot of people that just don't agree with President Trump right now. And so I think they're just probably going to nix this whole, this might have been the first and last of the teams
Instead of him standing
coming
there in photo ops where everybody can show, hey, the last time this team was here, it was full. Now it's empty. And
you don't want to do
He's
the
not about to get
comparisons.
embarrassed about that over and over
Especially
again.
with the baseball teams.
Yes.
From how many different ethnicities play baseball,
Yes.
and the soccer teams, how many ethnicities come from
Well, they
all
can't get back in the
overseas,
country
and-
if they go home
Exactly.
before the service. So
well,
there you
I
go.
just think it's definitely something that is going to continue to be a topic. Well, let's talk about Serena Williams for a quick moment here. It's a great blessing to be able to have to be with child and to be able to become a parent and give natural birth and all of those things. Is this going to maybe hurt her in the long run as far as her legacy? Because there are a long list of tennis stars, at least on the men's side. Now, they haven't had to carry the child, but they became fathers. Novak Djokovic and Roger Federer, at the very heights of their careers, they're very, the best of the best, the pinnacle of their athletic careers, especially in professional tennis, both got married and had children and really dipped off in their rankings in their play due to the fact that they have other things on their mind now, and that's to be expected. When you're a parent, when you're a father, you need to be focused on your children and being there for them. Is Serena going to have kind of the same thing happen to her, especially because she's the one that has to go through the pregnancy?
I'm going to say quickly, no. It's a first child for her. Women's bodies tend to bounce back pretty well after the first child. And if there is anybody in the tip-top condition to have a child and bounce back, and the mental stamina and just the ability to come in and be number one in the world again, it is Serena Williams.
Yeah.
I think it's just going to be all about where she's at in her life.
Sure.
Sometimes you're at home with the baby. That's what you want to do and be.
Right.
Sometimes you have the baby and you love the baby, but I want to get right back out. So it's all just up to her. You know who I'm mad at is you, because I told you to marry Serena Williams. Now you done missed your chance. She's having a baby. She's engaged.
Our paths never crossed. I just couldn't quite get there. I know.
I know.
She's off the board now.
Beautiful,
but
wonderful
hey,
woman.
I heard
We're happy for her.
Her children are going to be very athletic.
Well, congratulations to Serena.
Yeah, that's
So
awesome. That's great news. I hope she does have a strong pregnancy.
Yeah, we wish her nothing but the best, and so we're happy for her.
Right. Well, okay. Lastly, here let's quickly touch on this Aaron Hernandez situation. It is a very touchy subject because this is a man that committed a lot of crimes, and murder being those things that he did. He was found in his jail cell in Boston, and it's tough. He committed suicide, and people are very conflicted on how they're trying to go about this situation. Just quickly, what do you have to say about this as
only word
this
that
is still unfolding?
Yeah, the only word that pops into my mind is just tragedy. This whole thing is tragic from get-go, from his victims to his decisions to the fact that another human being has now left the earth by his own hand. It's all tragic. To me, it's all dark, it's all hopeless, and you think in the moments of suicide, I think there has to be a sense of hopelessness that causes you to literally take your own life. Try to bite through your own hand. To harm yourself is a very difficult thing to do. So to me, just the only overarching thing is just tragic. If there was a big black cloud with a silver word written on it, it would just be tragic. That's what I think of
it is tragic. It's truly been a nightmare. We're going to have much more on this. Continue to follow us as we unfold this story and Aaron Hernandez. Continue to view our next episode as we will solely focus on this issue and this topic of suicide and him and his family. But that's all we have for us today on OTD. And we got a lot of sports news, but
there's some baseball going on,
baseball, the NBA playoffs,
and the draft for the NFL
draft
next week.
Exactly. Well, we want to say we appreciate your time, folks. Subscribe to our YouTube channel, and we want to say we'll see you next time. Thank you.